Hello, thank you for taking the time to watch this video I've posted here. This is going to be a sword review for an In Carius Craft sword that I purchased. Once again, welcome to what I call stark realities. Most of what's going to be posted here is going to concern swords or edged weapons and the like. In any event, once again, thank you. About me, as far as swords are concerned, like anybody else, I got bit by the bug of swords and their history when I was a young child with a book I found in the library. And that led to more books and movies, J.R.R. Tolkien, Lord of the Rings, Robert E. Howard and Conan the Barbarian, Michael Moorcock, the Elric series, as well as many other books written by him, and on down the list. Movies like Conan the Barbarian, Conan the Destroyer, the Lord of the Rings series, The Hobbit, as well as Willow. All of those were contributing experiences that just fed the fire for the passion for swords and similar items from our history. This led to me buying my first real sword, a Deltin 2143 long sword. They called it the Sempak. It was sold by museum replicas way back in the late 1980s. To date myself, was super thrilled to get that sword and had it for many years. And like I said, the first sword I considered to be a real sword. That in turn led to me ultimately doing a short stint working for a sword manufacturer here in the United States, quite well known one, where I basically was on a full immersion tour of learning about swords and their functionality, how they're made, the dynamic qualities they should exhibit, or at least historically should exhibit, form, function, and what have you. And it was a priceless experience, and as far as I'm concerned, that will always be thankful for. Full disclosure, this sword was purchased secondhand from a sale posted on a forum, and I paid approximately $800 for the sword. I have never communicated or purchased directly from the maker, who is a gentleman by the name of Rafal. I will not pronounce his last name, because I probably would butcher it horribly, let alone the city or town that he resides in where he produces these fine works. Just so everyone knows, there is no special connection between me or the maker. So moving on, the sword in question is in my opinion, a Type 14 arming sword that would date from the 13th, 14th centuries, respectively. And I'm going by Oakeshott's determination and typology identification. And that's the time period that he indicates from his experience and research that 14s existed. And he went on to detail the number of effigies that had Type 14s as part of the effigy, as opposed to other types of swords, though later period effigies or earlier showed different types, which he cited. This, in my opinion, is, of course, a 14 arming sword. It's a large, robust Type 14. It does have the presence of a medial ridge in the last, almost half of the blade, which is not typical for a 14. That is more in keeping with a 16, and one potentially could interpret this as a 16, but I feel it's more in keeping with a Type 14. Additionally, it has a Type 8 faceted guard, at least that's what I'm going to call it. Some might differ on that, but it shows the characteristics of Type 8. Most of the Type 8s, at least the ones described by Oakeshott, were relatively straight with downsloping ends. We do see the presence of this style in some examples that have survived the ravages of time. I'm calling this a Type K faceted pommel, so it's atypical in that regard, with a peening nut, which is probably one of the few things about this sword that I would find not perfect, which no sword's perfect, is the peening that's a little offset from square with the rest of the blade. But all of the other fittings are very well set. The sword inlet, very tight and well fitted for a handmade sword. That's pretty amazing. And probably in some respects there's a little more control than with a cast piece where you never know. And in my personal experience, that's what I saw when I was involved in sword making. Double fuller, extends approximately half the length of the blade, very crisp, very well done, very straight terminations, and darn near, as far as I can tell, right at the same length. I did not measure them. As I was saying, robust sword. It's quite a beastie. It will likely remind some folks of a sword made by another manufacturer known as the Sovereign, which is a Type 14. To that point, the very wide shoulders. This one does not have the swelling, the outswelling of the shoulders that is sometimes described as being a feature of Type 14s, but it certainly is wide enough. Let's see. As far as dimensions are concerned, overall length for this sword is 37.4 inches, which is within historical limits, 95 centimeters for those folks who use metric. Blade length 30.7 inches, 78 centimeters. The approximate weight's about 2.95 pounds, or 1,340 grams, which is on the heavier end, which that in and of itself is not a bad thing per se, but it is, it would require someone who doesn't mind a heavier sword. In comparison to the Sovereign. Sovereign, when it came out, was beginning to be reviewed by people. It was 2 pounds 10 ounces and were described as a little brute by some folk, as I recall. Well, this is the little brute's big brother. Point of balance on this is 3.9 inches approximately, or about 10 centimeters. Blade width is 2.9 inches, almost 3 inches, or 7.4 centimeters. I believe the steel used in making the blade is 51 CRV4. I don't know what that translates to in U.S. steel identifiers, but there you have it. You're more than welcome to look that up. And if you discover what that is, certainly let people know. I'm really satisfied with this purchase. This style of sword is from an era that I have a great appreciation for, the High Middle Ages, and it certainly emulates all of the qualities that go along with it. It's bold. It's got lots of character, and it's really something else. The beautiful thing about In Carius Craft pieces, other than the well-executed sword itself, is a well-executed, for the price point, scabbard. And the scabbard is a integral belt scabbard, as you can see. Does not come with a chape, which seems to be a feature of In Carius Craft scabbards. They don't put chapes on them. I'm not sure why that is. If that's just for ease of manufacture and price point, I don't know. The belt is long, like the belts of the period. Extremely long belt. The brass or bronze belt end, and a brass or bronze belt buckle, which is atypical for buckles that you would see from the period, but not completely implausible. It's possible that this may have been a style used. thin, light, but sturdy, back-stitched, and fits the sword extremely well. Seats in there nicely. It seats well in that once you have put it in there, you can hold the scabbard upside down and the sword does not fall out. That's a feature that many manufacturers are not able to achieve, and you usually only see in custom scabbards. But very well done. As with any sword that one would purchase from across the pond, you have some added extra potential things. In this case, for me, that did not happen because I bought it from someone on this side of the pond. Do your research. There's added cost, added wait times potentially for a sword you order from Europe or other parts around the world. But if you're interested, I will be including a link to In Carius Craft's website, which is a Facebook page. They don't have an actual storefront website that I am aware of. You certainly could field your questions there for Rafal and company if you are interested in making a purchase. I hope you've enjoyed my review of this sword. It's kind of quick and dirty. There's unfortunately no cutting. I've never cut with this sword video, but I have no doubts that it would cut very well. It's amply sharp for the purpose. Might not be as sharp as needs be for bottle cutting. Of course, if I was doing it, and it probably wouldn't matter how sharp it was, I would bat them across the yard. But that's okay. And this sword, being the type that it was, would have been used with a buckler. I-33 manuscript would be an excellent manual of use for this type of sword, or a heater shield, or some other type of shield from that time period that these would have been popular. Certainly leave your comments or questions below, and if I'm able to, I will answer them. Once again, thank you for taking the time to watch this video. This is my first one, and I'm hoping to do more. Edged weapons, maybe not necessarily swords, but sharp nonetheless, and maybe other items along the way. So once again, thank you, and have a great day.